can't unload a stolen pig in a pawn shop. So, question number one is, where do you unload it? Where would you go?
Well, where would I... Well, I'd never thought of it.
Well, here's what I figured. The Rollo on the hoof is too well known to peddle for anything like the dough he's really worth. I mean, he's not like a big diamond that you can cut up and live. Or is he? What is the going price on pork?
The market this morning was at $23.50.
Oh, well, that kind of money hardly sounds like Little Rocky's kind of project. But maybe things are tough. By the way, Alva, have you ever been in Arkansas by any chance?
Why'd you ask?
Just wondered.
Hey, Dollar, just a minute. I want to talk to you.
Barnyard bloodhound himself. Yeah, Sheriff?
Would you mind, Alva?
I was just leaving.
How could she be that cold on such a hot night?
Huh?
What's bothering you, Sheriff?
Yeah. I saw your little performance, Dollar, when you leapt at that truck. Just how hard was you really trying?
How hard was I... I ought to punch you in the nose, badge or no badge.
Now, don't you go getting huffy. I just want you to know that I don't fool easy. When I'm on a case, I'm suspicious of everybody.
Yeah, that must be rough on your wife. How often do you have her in handcuffs?
Huh? Well,
Now, look, Sheriff, all I need from you is the use of a car so I can go looking for old Lardhead.
No, you don't. There's enough missing around here as it is. Rollo, Miss Tiller's jewelry, and I ain't about to add a county vehicle to the mess. And besides, I want to keep an eye on you.
Good. You might learn something. Come on.
Here, wait a minute. Where are you going?
Over to the Ferris wheel. That truck hasn't been off the fairgrounds more than a couple of minutes. I want to get a look at the countryside.
Ferris wheel. Say, that gives me an idea.
I hoped it would. Come on. Say, Sheriff, I don't know very much about this farm-side ferreting racket.
Well, there's more to it than meets the eyes, I can tell you that.
Oh, yeah, I bet there is. Tell me, didn't I see a feed trough on Rollo's truck with a lot of mash in it?
Well, now, let's see. If he ate yams this afternoon, he'd eat mash tonight, all right.
Does mash kick up any kind of a smell?
Oh, sour swill. But the pig seems to like it.
Uh-huh. How does this sound to you, Sheriff? Suppose right after you take your ride to the top of the Ferris wheel to case the countryside, we were to get ourselves a nice hungry pig.
Say, that gives me an idea. We could take that pig and he could smell that mash in the air and sniff out the trail of that truck.
Sheriff, if you aren't a genius, I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, Shaw.
It was planting time in Iowa that night, at least for ideas. Two of which I had planted in the not-too-fertile mind of Sheriff Harry Blewett. And as long as it took us to walk from the trotting track to the Ferris wheel, it came harvest time for notion number one.
Right this way for the big ride on the big wheel. Hurry, hurry, hurry.
Okay, mister, okay. I'm the sheriff. I want you to run me up to the top of that wheel and hold me there long enough for me to get a look around. Oh,
When the wheel came to a stop with Harry Blewett sitting in his little cage at the top, I pulled a low trick on a high sheriff. I bought a pink lemonade from the juice stand next to the Ferris wheel, walked over to the motor that rolled the big heap, unscrewed the cap on the gas tank, and gave it a big, long drink. I hope it wasn't doing to people's stomachs what it did to that motor. You might well remember this harmless little deceit the next time you have occasion to get rid of a sheriff.
This kind of publicity is a little too expensive, Dollar. I demand that you do something.
Now, don't worry, Mr. Tiller. I am going to do something. And I'll thank you to remember that the only ones who stand to get hurt right at this point are the insurance companies that wrote the policies on your pig and your wife's diamond brooch.
Why, Worthington, I hadn't thought of that.
Huh?
Why should we worry? My brooch is insured for way over the value, dear. We hadn't...
Hortense, you keep flapping that loud tongue of yours, the first thing you know, they'll be accusing us.
Why, they wouldn't dare.
Oh, yes, we would, Mrs. Tiller.
It was just not the
A
time.
$15,000 profit on a pig and whatever else you could make on your jewelry might make anybody the type, Mrs. Tiller.
Now, see here, Dollar. I've had just about enough of your slanderous implications. I have a few thoughts you might profit by.
Go ahead, Worthington.
I'm always interested in profits, Tiller.
My father had the same thing happen to him back in 1902.
That's right.
Remember, dear?
Yes.
In Nebraska. He bought a prize pig at a fancy price. And then the scoundrel that sold it to him turned around and stole it back. There, see? See? What do you think of that?
Would this be a suggestion that we throw the young lady who sold your pig to you in the pokey on the strength of something that happened 37 years ago?
Well,
That's for you to decide, Dollar.
Right.
Just don't say I didn't warn you.
I see. Yeah. If you don't have an orchid to pin on a young lady, try suspicion. With most of the crowd packed in the grandstand watching the free attraction, I had a good chance to scout the fairground for Alva Anderson, from whom I wanted to learn a little bit more about the habits of not only pigs, but their ex-owners. A trail led me past the home-baked cakes, hybrid corn, the watermelon pickle, tractor and harrow exhibits, and all the way back to where I first met her, Rollo's pen in the swine wing of the livestock building. But when I got there, Rollo's cupboard was bare. Alva was leaving for the rear door in the company of a small, tough-looking gent carrying a sack over his shoulder. Name of Little Rocky from Arkansas. I could hardly believe it, but they piled into a car and hauled off up the road. At the risk of adding one last insult to the most recent injury I'd inflicted upon Sheriff Blewett, I stole his car and went dusting up the highway in hot pursuit. There was nothing easier to follow than a red taillight on a clear night. And the bright Mazda Ruby tacked onto the rear of Little Rocky's car led me around the village of Carver and 11 miles out to the pastures to a shack hidden in a grove of elm trees 100 yards off the road. I parked the car and legged it in. From 25 feet away from the house, I could crawl the roll through an open window. They were all there. Little Rocky, a strong-arm man who would knock me off the running board, Alva Anderson, and last but not least, there was Rollo, all 980 pounds of them, and most important to me, still alive.
Here you are, Milo, you stupid clown. Oh, stop. This is all the sweet potatoes that was left. First to go through them, and then we'll be ready for you, Alva.
but I told you I don't have it.
We'll see about that later. Hey, Milo, don't get the porker excited. Here, put the sack on the table. Then when we look at him, we throw him out the window and away from him. Now, hurry up.
All right. Well, it ain't in this one. Ain't in this one either. Nope. Ain't in this one.
Shut up, just look.
Well, I just...
And from now on, from you, no thinking. Anybody dumb enough to stash a $30,000 hunk of jewelry and pig food ought to go see a head doctor.
Oh.
Through the open window, I was being bombarded by sweet potatoes and facts. While making a getaway after ripping the brooch from Mrs. Tiller's throat, Little Rocky's accomplice had suffered a sudden attack of panic and had hidden the brooch in one of Rollo's lunchtime yams. Whether that yam was inside the piggy or out, they and I were apparently just on the verge of learning.
That doesn't ain't here.
Then that means...
That means your little friend here had a $30,000 snack today, which right now is giving me a great big bellyache. You know all about pigs. What do we do about it?
Well, Rocky was yellow. He wouldn't rub him out.
Look who's talking. Here, take my 38 if you're so tough. Yeah, I thought so. Now shut up.
Well, I ain't killing no piggy with him just standing there looking at me. If he'd only make a break for it, I'd mow him down.
Now look, baby, we'll kill him if we got it. We want that chunk of ice and we want it fast. Milo, tease him into the corner with a sweet potato.
We're throwing them all out the window.
Oh, please, Mr. Rocky,
You
don't.
shut up, too, and sit down. Close your eyes if you want to.
Oh, please, Mr. Rocky.
In the manner of Sheriff Blewett, I had an idea, given to me, of course, by Rocky. Alva was sitting in the corner, Rollo was scratching his side by rubbing it against the opposite, and Rocky and Milo were standing shoulder to shoulder in the middle of the room, ready to advance on him. I groped around in the dark until I found one of the yams, and taking the sweet potato delicately in my hand, I tossed it through the window so that it would roll to a point just behind Rocky and his pal Milo. Rollo took my bait and, getting to it, knocked his two would-be executioners in a heap on the floor. I took over from there, jumping to the window and applying a kitchen chair dutifully to the areas, reducing enemies to a state of unconscious surrender. gave out, Alva gave up, and Rollo gave me a dirty look. Well, Mr. Tiller, here he is, safe and sound, good as new, fat and sassy.
Well, good. Congratulations.
And not only that, but in him someplace, he not only has a good fighting heart, but also that diamond brooch of your wife's.
Oh, yes, very interesting. Well, I'd better go charter a plane. Rollo is due in Kansas City at noon tomorrow.
Oh, but it might upset him, Mr. Tiller. Rosie Barron of Iowa's never flown before. He might lose weight.
Yeah, what's the big hurry to get him to Kansas City? He booked for a personal appearance?
Oh, no. No, hardly that. He's due to be slaughtered at a special ceremony. All the plans are made. Oh, I wouldn't want to disappoint my boys. They've been looking forward to this.
How do you like that? Why, it's almost murder. Poor Rollo.
Oh, Johnny.
Come on, let's get out of here, Alva. Gosh, who'd have ever thought I, Johnny Dollar, would ever gotten so attached to a pig? Expense account, item 4, $3.50. Dinner for Alva and me. A vegetable dinner, by the way. And speaking of that, reminds me, if you find a $30,000 brooch in a pork chop, it'll only mean that the Blue Ribbon Prime Packing Company didn't have much luck when they went looking for it. Expense account item 5, $20. One new gold-plated badge, which I sent to Sheriff Harry Blewett, appeasement, for having stranded him atop that Ferris wheel, for stealing his car, and for suggesting that he use a hungry pig for a bloodhound. Oh, the porter followed the mash scent, all right. Next morning, they found Sheriff Blewett searching an old mash factory, 8 miles the wrong side of town. Item 6, $76.80. Bus and train fare, Carver, Iowa, back to Hartford, Connecticut. Well, I'm still wondering every morning at breakfast time, what else can you eat with eggs? Except ham or bacon or sausage. And maybe you don't think that's a problem, having known a certain champion named Rollo, Rosie Barron of Iowa. Expense account total, $1,463. Yours, truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, is produced and directed by Norman MacDonald and stars Charles Russell with script by Paul Dudley and Gil Dowd. Featured in the cast were Parley Bear, Sammy Hill, and John Daner, with Junius Matthews, Ann Morrison, Jack Crucian, and Paul Dubois. Pinto Colvig was Rollo. The special music is written and conducted by Leif Stevens. Be sure to be with us at the same time next week when another most unusual expense account is handed in by
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Your Hit Parade on Parade will be back tonight in the familiar CBS Jack Benny time with the great tunes of August 12 years ago, Sweet Leilani and Where or When. Many another still green in your memory will be among the hits you will hear. Speaking of hits, put down August 29th this year in your little book. That's when Arthur Godfrey and his talent scouts, the stars of Lux Radio Theater, My Friend Irma, and Bob Hawke return to join Inner Sanctum. So make your Monday nights a regular date with CBS. This is Roy Rowan speaking. Stay tuned now for your Hit Parade on Parade. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.